What is up, guys? Welcome back to another episode right here on the Hockey Edmonton Show. I'm YouTube Trev. That's Jeremy Halischuk. And thank you for joining us on this beautiful Saturday morning. It's a little cold. Christmas was we just had Christmas. It was a beautiful Christmas. I was able to go home, had so much fun. And it was the time of, it's just a great time of the year. I was able to see family. Jeremy, I didn't get to go home last year because I was doing pre and post here at the studios. So it was nice to see all the family and just had a grand old time. Just quickly, you have a pretty good Christmas?
Yeah, had a good Christmas. Yeah, exactly. Same thing. Had some family time and such. And then, it was a really good Christmas for me. So, can't really complain about that. It's always good to just relax on a couch, stuff your face. And,
absolutely.
We were talking with Dusty there before he left about how, you're in this now time frame where you're just really stuffed with food and cheese and chocolates, and you really don't know what day it is. Like you're in that stretch between Christmas Eve and New Year's Day. It's like I don't know what day it is. Is it Monday? Is it Tuesday? Is it Friday? I don't know.
100%. You forget about the time, and you just kind of I like that a lot. No, that's good. I'm happy you had a good Christmas. Just quickly, one last thing while we're on. What's your favorite serving for the Christmas supper? What do you like?
Well, I mean, I'm a Ukrainian, so obviously Peverhe is one of the staples, obviously. So that's one of them.
Beautiful.
Turkey, ham, gotta love those as well.
Yes.
So yes, that's kind of the staples in my aunt and uncle's house. So,
Let's
it's
go.
Really good. Yeah, exactly.
Awesome, Jeremy. That's I love to hear it. I'd love to hear it. If you're tuning in right now, thanks for all the continued support. You guys are absolutely crushing it. Leave a like, drop a comment down below as we do read every single one. And thanks for joining us on this nice Saturday. I hope all of your Christmases were just as good as ours. Today, we've got a pretty special guest joining us, Danielle Gregg, former Olympian, which is pretty cool. I never thought I'd have the opportunity to speak to Olympian. Like, that's pretty cool. Like, could you imagine considering yourself like the top 1% of whatever the sport it is in the whole world? Like, that's incredible. Yeah. It's unbelievable. But just looking at the track record right now, looking at the resume, what she was able to do, it's unbelievable. 2014 Sochi Olympics, she competed in the 500 meter for the women. So that's just unbelievable. So we're going to speak with Danielle Gregg. And I can't wait for that. It's going to be a good one. We're talking about long-term athlete development and participation in sports on today's episode, Jeremy.
Yeah, exactly. And this is one of those where right off the bat, it's when I thought about these episodes and such and long-term athlete development, again, right there, an Olympian. And again, her story is very unique in terms of participation in hockey. So we'll get into that as well. In terms of how she's giving back to her community and such, and like I said, we'll touch on that a little bit later on. But you've heard us talk about the importance of long-term athlete development and really that multi-sport athlete as well. And this is one of those success stories here in being again a long-term athlete development. It gets you to places where you may not think originally, but like I said, it gets you to those places. Again. Danielle's somebody that believes in multi-sport athlete. She's had a lot of success, obviously, like you said, an Olympian. That doesn't come easy. So again, a lot of success because of her take on being that multi-sport and long-term athlete development side. And you do see that with Olympians, just like we talked about earlier on in probably one of our earlier episodes about being a multi-sport athlete. You see it in all sports, football. Again, being a basketball player translates into being a very good tight end. Being a track star translates to being a very good wide receiver. So again, you see a lot of these multi-sport athletes go down the list. So we're in college bowl season and Heisman Trophy season was a few weeks ago there. Go look at their resumes and what they do. It's not just football. You'll see it's common to see I play basketball or they play volleyball and play football, and it's like, okay, there's a reason why you want to be a multi-sport athlete, and that's why it's going to set you up for success as an athlete long term. Like I said, it'll take you places where you may not necessarily be think of going and such, especially in a sport like hockey. And like I said, we'll talk about that at the end there, kind of some of the examples and such. And so again, We talk about that importance, and again, that participation and why sport is important for those that are listening. And again, we talk about some of the things, the investment in sport. This is why it's important. Is again, it creates a healthy community, healthy lifestyle, which we know, like we talked with Dana and Jana a few weeks ago about. Sport creates those healthy communities that can flourish and thrive. And again, like I said, this is one of those great stories here in being that multi-sport athlete and the importance of it.
Yeah, it's very impressive, and you see so many times players talk about it, how important it is, and sometimes that is the biggest regrets in a player's career, as though they were just a one-trick pony and they just played one sport, and they come out and like, oh, like maybe I should have done this, I should have done that. You see the hockey warm-ups, they're always kicking a soccer ball. It's not just that as well. A lot of these athletes, I'm just looking at it from a hockey point of view, they come out and say, yeah, I played baseball growing up, I did play soccer growing up. It's good. You develop so much more than I think anyone would know, and it's actually very interesting, like the science that goes behind it. We had, I think you've spoken highly of this guy, Crush. Yeah. We call him Crusher.
Yeah.
He's come on the show quite a bit on the Hangout, Jeff Crushell. And it's pretty cool. He's talked it, and he has it down to a science. And he's like, I remember my first Hangout appearance. I think it was my first Hangout appearance. It was myself, Maddie, and Crusher, and they're just talking. I'm just like I have nothing to add to this. Like I'm like, he's just like listing off all these things, and just like he's got the stats and he's got this, and I'm just like, I'm bringing nothing to the table here. I had like, it's so impressive though. Like there is evidence to show to back it up that being a multi-sport athlete can not only like make you be better in one particular sport, but the longevity to it as well. And I think Danielle is going to be perfect person to ask some of these questions to.
Yeah, exactly. And like you just hammered on, we talk about what we want to create here is we want to create that long participation, that lifelong love of sport, where it's great when we have players that go to that next level and make it to the Western Hockey League, and then the pro ranks, and even the NHL and such. That's great. But what we really want here is, again, that long-term athlete to participate in hockey for life. You've heard me say that, again, hockey for life. And again, being a multi-sport athlete helps that. You're not as susceptible to injury. You're not susceptible to burnout. We know those things. And so, again, like I said, it's just there's a lot of benefit here to being that multi-sport athlete.
Yeah, and not only that, we've talked about. I mean, this is like kind of it's like a perk. I wouldn't say it's the main reason, but it's like an adage. You go into some sport and you may not think like but you come out learning so much more. And at the end of the day, you'd be like, wow, I'm so thankful that I ended up doing this or taking this path. I met some pretty cool people, and we've talked about that all season long. It's the people that you meet along with playing sport, and it makes good people. I think, embracing not only a new sport, you're embracing more people and more friends, and just, making a community, and, you have lifelong friendships out of it. So not only from the being an athlete, but it just, we've talked about, and this has been a consistent topic on the show, is just it makes you a better person at the end of the day. I think I tied that in there pretty nice.
Exactly. Yep, exactly. And, like you said, it's, or like I said earlier, that, you can, the skills that you learn in multiple sports do translate back very well into hockey, right? Like, I mean, you talk about playing soccer. Well, what's that going to build? It's going to build your stamina, your capacity, right?
Yeah.
You talk about baseball. Again, hand-eye coordination is huge. That's just a natural. That used to be what it was. You used to play hockey in the winter, baseball in the summer. And again, that's why we had, for those that are longing back in some cases for some of the skill back in the day, well, that's why. Because again, you had that two sport at the bare minimum. You talk about lacrosse. There's another sport that number one, stamina, but also protection. You have to protect the puck in hockey. Well, in lacrosse, you're protecting the ball as well and such. And you're really, the way their rules are is you're really having to navigate some of the the hits, the cross checks, the slashes, right? That helps you in hockey. So again, we talk about there's a lot of benefit to to sport. And then, not even going a little bit further into lacrosse and those sports, for example, basketball, where you have to have, agile feet and have to react quickly. Again, that helps you in hockey on your edges, right? So again, there's a lot of positives there to being that multi-sport athlete as opposed to just being a one-sport athlete.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. As we await Danielle Gregg, former Olympian, she's going to join the show to continue this discussion about long-term athlete development and participation in sports. If you're new to the channel, guys, thanks for clicking on this video. If you're watching live, we really appreciate it. Drop a comment down below. Were you a multi-sport athlete growing up? And I'll quickly pose that question to you, Jeremy. Are you a multi-sport athlete?
I tried a lot of sports.
Growing up?
Yeah, I tried a lot of sports, be it from, dance, baseball, hockey, basketball, volleyball, delved into a lot.
Heck yeah.
Don't get me wrong, wasn't good at many of them and such, but, apparently an okay Ukrainian dancer, but otherwise, yeah. And not bad at hockey, but not great at hockey either. Hence why I'm an administrator now. So, but yeah, like I said, a lot of different sports there. Just again, because probably attention span as well. You sit there and want to try everything. So
no, that's fair. Did you say Ukrainian dancing?
Yep, I was. Yeah.
Oh, that's not bad, eh?
Yeah, that's almost a rite of passage for those in the Ukrainian communities. You do dance as well. So
let's go. Awesome. Well, I think our next guest, the guest of the show, we shall say, is ready for us, and let's bring her on right now. Joining us right now, sorry, I just got to unmute you quickly. We have Danielle Gregg. Oh my goodness gracious, this is awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to join us, Danielle.
Good morning. How are you guys?
Yeah, we're doing pretty good. We're
very
doing pretty
good.
good.
Yep.
You keeping warm? You trying to keep warm out there?
Yeah, our car didn't start this morning, so things started a little chaotic, but that's okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I actually had the exact same problem. It's that time of the year. So yes, Danielle Gregg joining us, former Olympian, and we're talking about long-term athlete and development and just participation in sport in episode 17 of the Hockey Edmonton Show. I'm YouTube Trev. That's Jeremy Halischuk, and joining us right now is Danielle Gregg. So Danielle, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day. Just quickly, could you briefly just introduce yourself and your sport background, because you've got quite the resume there.
Well, I grew up in Red Deer. I started in dance. I hear Jeremy was talking about his dancing. So no Ukrainian dance for me, but I started with dance. And actually, my parents got me in speed skating at a really young age because my brother had joined. And so the nice thing about speed skating is it's kind of a family sport. So you can just bring all your kids and it's easy that way. So that's kind of where I started. Do you want me to keep going?
Oh, yes, please do. Please do. Yes.
So like I said, I was doing dance and we were doing speed skating. And I remember, I will say this, at one point, I would go to my brother's hockey games and my dad was coaching or assistant coaching. And I remember standing on the bench, just kind of being the little rink rat. And I said, there was a girl on my brother's team. I really distinctly remember a girl being on my brother's team. And I thought that was the coolest thing ever. And my parents deny this story, but I said, I want to play hockey. And they were like, no, maybe you could play ringette. And they still can't believe they said this, but this is one of those memories that just like etched in your brain. So I never did play hockey. And I was like, nah, I'm not going to play ringette. So I kept going with speed skating. But Red Deer had a lot of opportunities, actually. I grew up, I did mountain bike racing. I went to this Alberta Summer Games for mountain biking. I played many sports in high school. Volleyball, track, rugby was super fun. And then eventually, you kind of have to decide where you want to go. So when I would say grade 12 is when I really started getting serious about speed skating. I was definitely participating in it for a long time at a high level, but also doing other sports at the same time. But it wasn't until high school where I kind of had to say, the end of high school, okay, I'm going to keep going with speed skating, and did the move to Calgary like most speed skaters have to do.
Yeah.
Perfect. So yeah, so that's a great little segue into kind of, your amateur career, and again that experience in amateur sport, and again multi-sport athletes. Funny you mentioned rugby. A guest a couple of weeks ago, Dana, same thing. Dana Hyman, we know, she participated in rugby too. So it seems to be a very a very galvanizing sport that brings people together. That's for sure. And so you talk about your experiences and in sport and such. And so obviously, again, you have been the pinnacle. One of the things that Danielle's very very good at is being very humble in her accomplishments and such. But again, you hit the pinnacle of being an athlete in your sport. You competed against the best at the world stages and such. And I think obviously we've had many conversations about long-term athlete development and multi-sport athlete. And from your perspective, why do you believe it was important to be that, to be a multi-sport athlete, as well as really buy into that long-term athlete development program, and how it got you to where you wanted to get to?
I mean, there's a lot of, obviously, that all that framework came out when I was kind of in my younger years. And so it wasn't necessarily like a named thing, but it was definitely within the sporting framework already. But like, you just have to think like different sports, there's different skills that are required. And so, for example, like volleyball, you're doing a ton of jumping. Well, for sure, that was helping my sprinting and speed skating, right? Like there's definitely different skills that help. At the younger age, you have all these physical literacy skills that you want to acquire. And when you're just doing one sport, you're really not tapping into all those different physical literacy components. So for me, I really think, dance and volleyball and like biking, helping my aerobic capacity. There's so many different areas that, this sport can help that sport. And then just like, one of the big things is getting into one sport so early. You see so many kids burning out at young ages, and we really want to avoid those young burnouts. Like I saw in speed skating, even you'd see these amazing juniors coming up, they're 16, and then later when you're a senior, you think, hey, what happened to that junior that was like phenomenal? And then you never see them again. So you really want to try to avoid that burnout situation, whether it's mentally, physically. You get these overuse injuries. They can happen at a young age too, and then they're just with you for life almost. So I just think like the multi-sport really complements each other. It gives you opportunities in the future. It definitely helps you with that staying active and staying in sport for life, because I'm not out there racing speed skating all the time, but I can, recreationally pick up a lot of other sports. So yeah, I think there's just so many opportunities with that.
I just want to touch on the Olympics here quickly, because it's pretty cool. Like honestly, I remember the 2010 Olympics, and just I wasn't, well, it was in Vancouver, and I was fortunate to go to Vancouver and just feel like I was a part of it. And like I can't imagine, but I wasn't an athlete in it, and it felt just so special. So I was wondering if you could touch on the 2014 Sochi Olympics there, just what that was like for you, and like do you ever just have flashbacks like, wow, like that was just so amazing to be a part of it? Like, does it, even when you're having a bad day, you're just like, oh, but 2014, let's go. Like I was at the Olympics. So like, what was that whole experience like?
Yeah, that's funny. I think everyone's journey is different, right? So I know my husband was in the 2010, and his memories from 2010 are just like, he just remembers like the home crowd in the opening ceremonies. He has all these like, that was just like amazing memories for him. For me, I almost finished skating after 2010. I was struggling with this injury, and so that year didn't go very well for me. And I thought, I'm probably done. And then I ended up just taking it 1 year at a time. I'm like, I'm just going to do 1 year at a time. And I was working with Matt Jordan, one of our trainers, and he was really helping me to overcome this overuse injury. And I just slowly was like picking away at my times. And I thought, okay, well, I'll go another year. And by 2014, I was at the best I'd ever been, and obviously the oldest I'd ever been. So it was really, really an interesting journey for me. And so just like when I look back, I think about getting there, like getting to qualify for those Olympic Games for me was like such a huge accomplishment. And then being there, it's crazy.
Yeah.
There's nothing like it. I do think our Canada Games can emulate it a bit. So I really encourage kids to, if you can qualify for a Canada Games and make that as your goal, that is definitely like you get a bit of that experience. But I mean, it's crazy. Like you just have all the different countries and, you're just walking through the athlete village and you just like these other athletes you idolize from other sports. And it's just like, yeah. And then you can just feel like the emotions, whether it's the highs and the lows, and in the village, just, trying to bond with the athletes from the other sports and learn about their sports. Yeah, and I was so lucky. I got to walk into the opening ceremonies with my husband and his sister, so my sister-in-law, and just like walking into that stadium was really incredible. So yeah, it's hard to describe. There's really nothing else like it. Yeah. So.
Perfect. Yeah, no, it's good to hear again those stories, and like you talked about the Canada Winter Games again, or Canada Games as a whole. I was lucky to work at Hockey Alberta when it was awarded to Red Deer and such. So you see firsthand exactly how they try to emulate that Olympic experience all the way down and such, and even just the camaraderie and the interactions within the athlete villages and such. Again, it's a very good event and a very good stepping stone for those that are interested in it and are interested in pursuing athletics long term and really trying to strive for that pinnacle again, that Olympics and such. And so again, going back to being multi-sport, long-term athlete development, all that fun stuff. You're somebody that is in the industry as in different ways, right? You're a big community builder in sport. You've got a family in sport. Obviously, you alluded to the genes, obviously, in terms of you and your husband and your sister-in-law and such, and obviously the genes they have from their father and such, and again, so you're well into that community and the industry as a whole. And so when we talk about long-term athlete development and being and encouraging multi-sport participation, what are the challenges that you see in trying to implement this? Why can't we be successful? Because it seems like a no-brainer. And again, this is what those that heard your father-in-law Randy go into the Oilers Ring of Honor he talked about being his time in baseball, and from what I understand, he was a very, very, very good baseball player. Some say he's perhaps better as a baseball player than a hockey player, right? And you hear those examples, and we used to do that. So again, what do you see as those challenges, and why do you think they exist?
Yeah, I think so. When I think about, going from elite sport and then now having kids and entering this like grassroots level, huge learning curve. It's like going from one end to the other. So my husband and I are really trying to learn. Everyone's always worried about messing up their kids, so we're trying really hard not to. But we're really, really fortunate that both of our sets of parents had the same values when it came to sport. They really believed in trying many sports, in ensuring that you were enjoying what you were doing, and not just, it's not like our parents thought, "Oh, we want to create these elite level athletes." That was never the thought in their minds. So we're so lucky that we can look to them and draw from their examples. but what I find, like, if I'm at the hockey rink or like just listening to other parents or friends within the hockey realm that, I have my mom friends calling me and like, so they just seem very stressed about, keeping up with everybody. And it's like, oh, well, this child is doing these power skatings and they're doing this. And then it's just like the professionalization of sport, and there's so many options and everyone's so worried about, like keeping up with the Joneses kind of thing, that it's hard to just let your kids sit back and only do like 2 sessions a week. Everyone's so worried about what's everyone else doing. We want to keep them on this team. And so I find, just from listening, I see that as a bit of an issue. Yeah, I would say that's kind of the big thing I see right now with the younger athletes.
Perfect. And yeah, and I mean that is one of those challenges, and I think we see that in all sports, is that keeping up with the Joneses and such. If I'm not putting them into the best power skating, or in basketball, if I'm not putting them into this basketball camp or that basketball camp, right? And it just kind of snowballs from there. And so, as a parent, again, navigating this whole new world for you, how are you implementing that from your perspective with your kids, you and your husband, and as well, what advice would you give to those parents who are listening here today, in really that importance of long term, that long term athlete development and encouraging that multi sport participation?
I mean, first of all, to any parents, I say just relax, take a breath, don't worry, your child's going to be fine. But we kind of have, like, when we're going to the rink with our kids, we kind of say 3 things. We really want them to make friends. We want them to be in an environment where, they're going to have fun if they're making friends. If they're not making friends, it's not, they feel left out or it's not fun. So that's really important to us. And we want them to have fun, and we want them to move, right? Like sport, we want them to be active and moving. Like, that's important. So for us, it's really simple in that respect. But we also love a lot of sports. So it's easy for us to say, hey, in March, skates go up in the rafters in the garage. We don't see them again until September. And then the kids are like, yeah, I want to try baseball. I want to try soccer. And staying at the community level of sports, we find it's a lot easier to do that. There's not the same pressure. And I always tell, for example, I tell other people who are like, oh, we hear like your husband's coaching baseball and we're interested in that. I said, yeah, for sure. And like, yeah, but they really like lacrosse. And I said, well, that's fine. You talk to the coach and you say, we're in other sports. What can we do? And when you're 9 or under, that's when you should have the opportunity to try multiple things. And sometimes they overlap, and that's okay, right? Like, the teams are big enough, you can handle that. And just be honest with the coaches, right? Like, we always say, these are the activities our kids in, we view them all equally. So sometimes they'll miss this one, or sometimes they'll miss this one. So, and that's not how it is for every family, right? Like, you have to sit down and look at what works for a family, what are our values, and really listen to your kids. Are they having fun? Like, you got to really listen to, and it's not just like what they're saying, but verbal cue, or like nonverbal cues of your children. Like, are they enjoying this? Those are some of the things.
For sure.
No, for sure. And it's funny. Yeah, you brought that those nonverbal cues and listening to your kids having fun. Again, I don't know how many episodes of this you've watched, but yeah, that's going back. Like we joke around, some of our guests here, they keep on saying the same things that we've been kind of echoing here in the past. And again, we talked about, fun. Are your kids having fun? That's one of the things. And how can you tell they're having fun, right? And so again, yeah, not just asking them, yeah, did you have fun today? No, just how are their reactions and such. And I love the idea of, again, tossing the skates up in the rafters. We had Stephen Pattison on about a month ago, and his wife said the exact same thing at one of our Hockey Alberta events. There is like, yeah, sometimes you got to be the parent and just toss the equipment up in the rafters. Come March, and that's one of the ways we can encourage this. And again, I think I loved how you talked about talking with the coaches and such, and just setting that expectations. Again, I think a lot of coaches should be open to the idea of being a multi-sport athlete. And so again, there are going to be times where life gets in the way, and there's things that get into that way. So again, in hockey, especially, or hockey for us, we've said we've got a place for you. So if you want to be that multi-sport athlete, especially in our community programs, guess what? Our coaches are going to be flexible in what they're doing here, even at the elite levels. I know, we do see those coaches that are, flexible and understanding that, if they're playing a couple of sports there, that, they're okay with missing some time, missing a practice here or there, that type of thing, right? So again, I liked how you mentioned that with the coaches and such. So.
Yes, it's definitely good to recharge the battery. I feel like, as you mentioned, that's how, kids, athletes, they get burnt out with one sport and they just don't want to do it anymore. You put up the skates and then you recharge that battery, and then they're going to be more extra, they're going to be extra motivated, and they can't wait, just to get back on the ice. So I love what you said there, Danielle. Danielle Gregg joining us right now on the Hockey Edmonton Show. I'm YouTube Trev. That's Jeremy Halischek. Just a question for you, and you kind of mentioned, alluded to it earlier there, whether, multi-sport, it being in volleyball, it transitioned, it benefited you, it made you faster essentially on the ice. But how did the skills you learned in sport shape you into the person and leader you are today? If you could touch on that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think sometimes it's hard to really quantify all the skills you're gaining. Like you always think of like your sport specific skills, like, oh, my stride is better, or whatever you're working on the ice. But I mean, you're working with people, you're working in teams, you're competing against people. There's all these different, like, not sport specific skills that you often don't realize, but you're in leadership. Like if you're on a team and you're one of the older skaters, you're now in a leadership position, whether you want it or not, or realize it a lot. And those translate so easily into life. You learn about, what kind of person you are really in sport, right? Like, do I need, like, how do I work? Do I work better in an individual sport? Do I work better in a team sport? And those things translate, obviously, right? Like knowing that can help you later in your careers. Having coaches you're working under that, obviously, like, just so many different factors in life, but also, like we always talk about, the confidence, right? Knowing you can do a skill, like setting goals to achieve a skill. And that just builds confidence, and seeing those little successes. If we're teaching kids about small successes versus like those huge, you need to win whatever championship at the end of the year, like that's just such a huge, far away success. But learning about those little, come off the ice, what do you think you improved on today? Or what do you want? What is your goal for this weekend or something, right? Not with the little kids, but once you get a little bit older. Yeah, I mean, we always talk about goal setting and stuff, but it's not always obvious. It's not something we've always written down, but it's in our minds, right? So, oh my gosh, there's just so many skills you can learn from sport, but also just like how to treat people too, right? I think that's a big thing, and how you want to be treated. I think that can be a really important thing to learn through sport.
No, for sure. And I love that conversation about, the small steps to get to that end goal. It's, a lot of people think that, they see people having success at the highest levels, and yeah, that's, I can do that. Well, they don't see the multiple steps that it takes to get to those things. And again, we talk about sport and hockey, for example, your journey in hockey, and it's true of any sport, just like yours in skating, is it's a marathon. It's not necessarily a sprint. It's a long-term investment and such. So again, you talk about those skills, and we talk about what we want to do in sport here and the benefits. Again, yeah, goal setting, working with a team environment, working with others, taking direction, being a leader, right? You've hit a lot of those things that we talk about on sport there, and the benefits of sport, and why we say sport builds better people. if and such. So again, and hopefully, again, in our hockey realm, that's what we're working toward, is a lot of that. We want to build better people, better community. And so I know you do a lot of work in terms of working in that female sport participation side of it, and you're a real leader in that. And so, from your side, and obviously your passion, why do you feel it's important for females specifically to participate in sport?
Well, I mean, all those skills we just talked about, obviously, right? Historically, like going into, for example, an executive setting, the confidence isn't there. And just knowing that, like, hey, I can be here. I deserve to be here. I think that's a big thing, right? Like saying, I think we grow up thinking sport is more for boys, right? Like it's in the past been your brothers, your dads, everyone who's playing these sports. And I don't think that's the case. That shouldn't be the case. What are all the values we put on sport? Well, everyone should have access to that. Girls should have access to that. And you think about, like, when I think as a mom coming out of, when you're having kids and like, we want to keep moms active, after they have kids. You find it's really hard raising kids and staying active. So when you get girls in sport at a young age, you keep them in longer. We're going to keep them active, healthier, longer throughout their life. And that's a huge passion for me. And it's not just women, but it's everybody. Like, for me, sport is a lifelong thing. We're not just talking, even though we're talking about young kids a lot today, we want everyone to be able to participate in any sport or recreational activity, their whole lives. And that will keep just our society as a whole healthier, I think. But anyway, yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, no, just getting into hockey now. You mentioned at the beginning of the show how you weren't involved, but I reckon you just started to really get involved in hockey recently. How did you decide to get involved? What made you to make that decision?
Well, yeah. As I mentioned, I asked to play it when I was younger, and my parents didn't really want me to. And like, I think that was just the big thing, that there weren't really girls in hockey in Red Deer. And so coming out of skating, and then we had 4 kids, and one day our oldest said he wanted to play, and we're like, oh, how'd you know about this sport? We didn't have cable. We weren't watching hockey. But a couple of his friends were starting hockey. And then his younger brother was like, oh, well, if he's playing, I want to play. So suddenly we're like, oh, we're in hockey. So yeah, we got in. We had a senior Timbit, a junior Timbit. That's where we started. And we're with the Hawks. It's a smaller organization. And so we had 2 other kids to manage, but eventually I was watching, and I saw there's a few girls on the ice, but it's all dads out there. And I just thought, like, it would be nice to have some, like, girl or mom or women coaches out there too, just to have a balance so they can see that it's not just dads, right? Like, so my husband offered to put his name forward to volunteer, but he couldn't be at all the hockey. So eventually one day I was like, well, Jamie's not here. I can go on the ice. I know how to skate. I can probably help out. But I was a bit intimidated. I'm not going to lie. Like, you see all these dads out there and you just assume, well, they all must have played hockey. Like, I didn't play hockey. I have no hockey background. But, eventually I kind of just, like, went out there and was like, I have something to offer. I can skate. And then I just realized, okay, yeah, I have lots to offer out here.
Who are these guys?
Yeah, like, hockey specific, maybe not. But and it's just, like, I find it so much more fun to be out there skating with the kids. Like, what I've learned, I got my first pair of hockey skates a few years after I finished, like, speed skating. So I haven't had them that long, really. And I just absolutely love going on the outdoor rinks and skating around. It's just something I realized I just absolutely love skating. So when I can go on the ice with the kids, I'd rather do that than sit in the stands. So yeah, that's how I got into it. And it's fun. Like, I'm having fun with the kids, and yeah.
Yeah,
Sweet.
yeah, no, for sure. And like I said, that's one of the things as we've gotten to know each other and had conversations. And again, I love that story exactly that you're not a hockey player, but you didn't grow up playing the game, but yet you know about athlete development. You obviously know the most basic thing about hockey, and that is skating. At the end of the day, you got to be able to skate. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that you're an expert in that and such. And again, that idea of just going on to be that that visible person that others that the females that are on the ice that can look up to, that I belong here as well. But again, just that idea of just you're out there to help the kids. And again, for those that want to get involved, regardless, don't be afraid to hop in there, and we'll touch on that in a couple seconds here. But so far, how has your experience been on the ice? Within your team environment as well as the association, and how have that community helped support you? Because we talk about how hockey, is a community, and we for the most part, I think, as you've heard, or as a lot of our guests have heard, we talk about how we're there to help each other out, be it to get into the game, and financially and equipment wise, to even just understanding the nuances of the game and such. So yeah, how has your team and association supported you in being a new coach to this sport?
Well, I think this year, so I kind of went on informally at first because I was kind of just replacing Jamie when he couldn't be there. I was like, "Oh, I'm just Jamie, don't worry." But then I actually signed up as a coach, and I did the courses online, and we had some skills sessions, which I really liked. So at the beginning of the year, we had specific like U7, U9, U11. So I went to one of those, and that was really helpful because just like, learning some drills or how to teach a skill, because I'm still, trying to help with some of the hockey skills as well. And so learning how to teach a skill, I found that really helpful. As far as there are some other options also for like doing level 1 and stuff like that. And I would like to take some of those when they're available, because I know I want to be good at what I do. It's kind of like this athlete mentality. When you start doing something, you're like, well, I don't want to just go out there and just say stuff. Like I want to be good I want the kids to, hopefully they're learning something from me. Right. So I really like the support in having the extra education. Also, I think it's really helpful having like mentors within the organization, other coaches you can talk to. So, we have like athlete development director, I would say. And so being able to email them and say, hey, like, just ask any questions you want about coaching, right? Like the directors are very easy to access and to talk to. And so anytime if I were to have a question, they would have no problem answering that and providing the support there. I think sometimes people are worried about bugging someone, but it's really good to ask questions and reach out to your organization if you feel you need support, because I think that's what they're there for. They just don't always know that you need it.
Awesome. And just one last one from me there, Danielle. You had mentioned that maybe you were a little bit intimidated, and I feel like a lot of people feel like that when they're joining a sport, whether you're a young kid joining or you're a parent wanting to coach or something and mentor, something like that. But what would you say to those wanting to get into the game?
From a coaching or from like starting as an athlete?
Let's go with coaching.
Okay. So I would like to say to any moms out there, do it. Like, if you feel that you have anything to offer, whether it's just leadership or skills, or, you are a figure skater or speed skater or even a hockey player or ringette player, you have something to offer for sure. Get out there. We need more women on the ice. We need to see more moms and women out there. And don't be intimidated. You've got this. I know it. So from coaching, that's what I would say.
Awesome.
Perfect. Yeah. And I mean, you talk about, I know we had a conversation after one of our meetings and such about, you have that group there of, there's a few female coaches or people that have had experience and such, and some of them are helping out. And again, it's great to see that support and or support network. And again, like we talked about in our coaching episodes and such, again, our associations, they have these resources for coaches. So again, don't be afraid to hop on the ice and just help out, because again, your time is definitely valuable and appreciated. Those kids are going to appreciate having you as a coach and such, be it if somebody that played hockey or somebody that's been in another sport. So definitely encourage that. So I think from my side, the final question I would have is, overall so far in your hockey journey here, is what have you learned from that experience, especially at a coaching level, but as you've gotten into hockey as well, from a parent level?
I mean, I think hockey's a tricky one. People are really like, other parents I talk to that aren't in it are like, ooh, we're trying to avoid hockey. They're like, oh, we don't want to go there yet. Because I do think in Canada, especially because it's just such a popular sport, it's just, they feel that their whole time, their family life and everything is going to get so consumed by hockey. And you could potentially let it, but you just, like I said, everyone just needs to relax a little bit and just listen to your kids. We've been with the Hawks organization the whole time, and every year has been a great year. We're staying at the community level so far, and we've had great coaches this year. Like the coaches were saying in the parent meeting, we just were like, okay, we couldn't have written that better ourselves. We've just seen that the things we value are there. And there's always a place, right? Like when everyone's so worried about evaluations, and what we say to our kids is like, don't worry about it. You're going to be on a team. No matter what, you will come out of that on a team, and you will have fun for sure. Like there will be kids that you connect with, and you'll get to play. That's the point. So I will say from that experience, it's been really great. We're loving the community level. We're loving the Hawks Association. And we both try to help out when we can. And then also I am learning to play hockey.
Right on.
I've recently started playing hockey and realized how little I know about the rules of hockey. So I was like, okay, well, this is going to help me also with coaching, because I need to learn a little bit more about the game. So that's also been a really fun thing that has been happening alongside. So, yeah.
Awesome. Sweet, Danielle. Well, thank you so much. I believe that's all I have. Jeremy, we're all good? Sweet.
I think so, yeah. No, thank you very much for hopping on here. And again, hopefully sharing your story, and just the unique perspective. That's what we appreciate
Very
here
unique.
on this episode, because again, you're not a hockey person. Despite despite the family connections there and such, you weren't a hockey person. And just even hearing again, that it's not the first love. The first love is sport participation, and that's what we really want to hammer home. I know, again, like we said earlier on one of these episodes, that again may be shocking that not necessarily want to have everybody playing hockey all the time. We want to make sure that for us it's hockey for, we call it hockey for life. Well, how you get there is being that multi-sport athlete, and again, the skills there. So again, your perspective is much appreciated to this show. So definitely thank you very much for that.
And if you don't want to play hockey and you love speed skating or just skating, you can hop over to speed skating, right? I should plug that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. Well, it's actually funny because, something that we'll touch on in the wrap up about how, at the end of the day, sport, you might be a good hockey player, for example, but there's a time where you may not realize that down the path that's going to get you to where you want. But again, events like the Alberta Winter Games, Canada Winter Games, there might be sports there for you that you can translate or transition to. Skating is one of them, right? And such. And so again, if you're a good all around athlete, it just opens up doors for you as a whole.
Sweet, sweet. Awesome, Danielle. Well, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to join the show. You absolutely brought it. And yeah, we really appreciate it. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Awesome.
thanks.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Right on. Well, there we go. Danielle Gregg joining us there. That was pretty cool. Hey, not bad.
Yeah, no, it was really good. Yeah, it's definitely, again, bringing her perspective and her story. That's why, I, again, thought of a guest that I know that would just bring it to this show, and she definitely did. And again, like I said, her story and experience, again, is, again, despite the last name, not a hockey player or not a hockey participant. And now you see how she's getting in the game. And again, just that idea of the multi-sport athlete side because of her successes as well, like she said, that really contributed to it. So, I mean, like we said, in sport, we want to create that long-term participation in sport. Sport's here to create better societies, healthier societies.
Yes, sir.
Again, we talk about sometimes all of the focus on elite and getting those professional contracts or those scholarships and such, and we really lose sight of what sport does here. And again, like I said, I think she highlighted a lot of those positives in there in terms of the life skills, both on and off the ice or field or whatever it is, right? And those things that we taught that aren't written down, but yet you learn through just that participation side. So.
Yeah, no, it was great stuff. That was Danielle Gregg, former Olympian, just discussing her transition from power skating and just talking about all the sports she played growing up and how it ultimately helped her to where she ended up going. It's really cool how that worked out. I love talking about the Olympics, man. I thought that was great. It's so cool. Like, I still can't get over it. I can't imagine being in the Olympics. Like, she's so humble about it too. Like, could you imagine being there with the people you love? Just, oh my gosh, she definitely, she knocked it out of the park there. That's awesome. As we get into we wrap up today's show. Jeremy, take it away.
Yeah, and I think, again, like we said, we talked about all episode, and again, you've heard me say it multiple times on different episodes. We're here to create long-term participation in the game. Yeah, I do want people to participate in hockey because I love it, but again, just being an all-around athlete, that's what our purpose is as administrators, is encourage that long-term athlete development. And again, like we've hit on multiple times throughout this program, but also throughout other programs. And again, got to get Will Fraser on the Will Fraser multi-sport athlete button. So when we sit there and talk about it, people will get ready to hear about it. And again, we joke around about that, but Jeff Grishel, he talks about it. Why do you want to be a multi-sport athlete? Because you're better. You will become better in your specific sport that you love. You're going to become a better hockey player if you're participating in more sports and you have those better range of motions with your body and such, and being able to adapt as you're playing, right, as you're on the ice, right? And that comes from being a multi-sport athlete. Again, you're not driving straight to the net. All of a sudden that defenseman cuts it off. Well, okay, my skills that I've learned in lacrosse, I know how to protect the puck, quick feet. I know how to evade him or her and then go back on the attack. So again, you're going to be a better athlete as a whole. Again, you're less injured because, again, as Danielle alluded to, as you're using the same muscles over and over and over again, they're just going to get worn down and become more susceptible to injury, right? And then finally, again, you hit it earlier on, you stay in the game longer. You don't get burned out. I've seen that many a times. For those that, again, know the story, I used to work at a year-round goalie school for 10 years, and we were one of the best. We trained almost all the top goaltenders, and I saw it multiple times where kids just focused on being a goaltender, and they just got burned out. And again, it just, that's what you don't want to see. And some of them have come back to sport as a whole, right, and given back. But again, like I said, we just don't want to lose that time frame there. So.
Yeah, no, there is absolutely, like, I'm big on that. Like, if you do something for too long, like, you can see the results. It could be something like a simple Like I don't even have to say the examples, but just you take a rest, you take a break on something, and then you come back, you're going to be that much more recharged and just better. Like when you do something for so long and you're just like, you see no progress. It's just, you might not know that there's progress there, but you actually might be making progress, but you're just in your head, right? So it's good to take those breaks for sure. And that was very well said. Probably my biggest highlight in my hockey career there, Jeremy, was I remember my coach once. I played soccer. I was a multisport athlete there, Jeremy.
Nice.
And I remember my coach, he come up to me. The puck would always get bobbled. Obviously, we're in like Adam or whatever. Pucks were passing, and more often than not, the puck would always hit my feet, and I'd just be able to kick it up way better than anyone else. I played soccer. So the coach come up to me, is like, you play soccer, right? I'm like, yes, I do. And then he spent like 10 minutes just passing. We passed to player skates, and we just had to recover it from. And you see it in the NHL quite a bit, right? That's why you use your feet.
Exactly.
So it's pretty cool, the science behind that, Jeremy.
And I think the last thing, again, I think, the reason, you want to drive and some of the benefits of sport is you really want to excel. And maybe for some people it is getting that, getting up to that level, that recognition at the highest level. And I think one of the things that being a multi-sport athlete does, it opens your doors more. I look at, for example, we talked about this one day at Hockey Alberta in around the water cooler. And, if you're another sport that's looking to, grow your sport and get into that competitive side, you should be looking at, for example, those U18 AA hockey players.
Totally.
Because, for the most part, there a lot of them kind of know where they want to go in terms of, their hockey. They understand where they might fit in the hockey realm, but there's also doors that open because, again, to be at that level, you still have to be a good player. Yeah. And such. So again, if you're a speed skater, if you're a track athlete, and again, you can translate those hockey skills from into those other sports. Again, like Danielle said, skating, it's fairly straightforward. You're going to have to tweak your stride a little bit and such, but again, like I said, it opens up so many more doors if you're a multi-sport athlete. And if you want to hit the podium, and be it, you look at the Alberta Winter Games, the Canada Winter Games, up to the Olympics. I mean, like, those are amazing experiences. Like that's the biggest thing.
Oh, yeah.
Like you talked about being at the Olympics and such, like, recognizing that, and just even being in the athletes' village, the camaraderie, all of those fun things.
That's the thing I think about the most. Like just being like, just looking around and being like, wow, I am amongst the most highly skilled athletes in the world, and I'm one of them. That'd be really, real humbling, eh?
Exactly. And again,
I just smile the whole time.
Yep, being a multi-sport athlete though allows you to be that, and so again, or opens those doors for you. So again, like I said, for those that really want to drive and hit the pinnacle and be that, again, like I said, being a multi-sport athlete, it gives you more opportunities than beyond hockey. And again, talk about I think we said this in one of the very first podcasts, and I think it might have been with Dusty, but I alluded to it before. In the NFL, again, you go back to the Miami University, for those that have seen the 30 for 30s, when they got put back on the death penalty there. How did Santana Moss get into football or onto the team? He was a track star.
Yeah.
They went out, and that's what they did is they looked for track stars. They went out and looked for basketball players, right? So again, you talk about multi-sport athlete opening those doors. If Santana Moss was, for example, just a football player, then you know what? Does he get a scholarship to Miami?
Yeah.
Does he get into the NFL? Don't know. So again, those just open those doors for you. And like I said, you go back to the experiences, and if we bring in Dusty here to talk about his Canada Winter Games experiences, he'll say the same thing because he witnessed it firsthand. Is what goes on in those events, and just that is something that's cool. And again, multi-sport athlete helps you get there.
Absolutely. Well, freaking said, Jeremy Halischuk. Let's go, buddy. That was awesome. That was a great show. I had a lot of fun in that one, and we hope you did as well, tuning in this fine Saturday morning. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. We really, really appreciate it, and we hope you learned something along the way. Drop a comment down below as we read every single one, and leave a like, because I told you to. Just leave a like. That's all. Leave a like if you had fun watching us. That pretty well concludes today's episode, Jeremy. I had a lot of fun.
Yeah, I did too as well. Again, like
great.
we said, didn't prompt Danielle for any of these. Talked about hockey building a community. our community is there to help you get into the game however you want. Like Danielle said, there's a place for you to play regardless. Again, hockey's there for you. And again, our model, our program, the system we believe in, believes in that long-term athlete development that keeps people in the game, teaching them age-appropriate skills. So again, like I said, these were not prompted at all, questions and such. This is just another person's experience.
natural.
So again, like I said, hopefully, like you said, everybody's learned something here and continues to take some nuggets away from us. And
Yes.
again, thank you very much for everything, Trevor.
You're
and
damn right. Let's go,
Exactly.
Jeremy. This is
Let's
awesome.
go.
What a great show. One last question for you. Do you like my toque?
I like that toque, yes.
It's a
I
very
do.
nice toque.
It
It's
is.
keeping my head nice and warm. Yes.
Especially topical for these days here that we've had.
It's
So,
just
yeah.
terrible out there. So yeah, but thank you for liking my toque.
I do.
And I hope you liked the show. That concludes episode 17 right here on the Hockey Edmonton Show. I'm YouTube Trev. That's Jeremy Hallischuk. And we will see you next week for episode 18. Take her easy, guys.